Hey guys and girls, welcome back to 396 Guitars. We have the Les Paul wiring debacle back on the bench today. We're getting ready to do some wiring fun. Let's get to work. Quite simply, we are going to remove everything here, and then I'm going to show you, we're taking out all these pots, and we're taking out these caps. These capacitors, I don't like them. I don't think they're right for this application. We're going to put orange drops in there. These are 47s. It's just, to the client's credit, we've been conferring back and forth a little bit. I found a ground wire that was off, and then it was for the bridge pickup, which was causing it to intermittently go in and out. And then today, just as I was getting ready to start work, the main hot lead for the bridge pickup, actually the neck pickup, popped off. So he was going to have a complete failure sooner or later. So to his credit, with a little prodding from me, I said, we really do still need to rewire this, even though I could put the ground on, put that little red wire back on, but the rest of the wiring is just suspect. The pots are suspect. I don't like the caps that are in there. Enough said, I digress. I've labeled a few things here just that, this goes to the switch. This is the neck pickup leads. We're just going to snip everything and retin everything. I'm going to take out the 1.5 mile extra bridge lead that just does not need to be in there. There's literally about 16 inches of extra lead here. We're going to cut it down so there's just one little loop in there, enough to reach where it needs to, and clean it all up. So that being said, it's time to remove. And I'm not even going to bother trying to unsolder connections. I'm just going to snip them out because I know where everything goes already. And I'm going to refer to my trusty map here. The only thing I really wanted to remember without having to trace back, because his switch is going to be in an oddball clock, is the three-way switch. So I did label those, and I know that they're correct for what his application is going to be, which is red for neck and white for bridge. And we're just going to tape everything back and get it out of the way temporarily so we can work on leads. And even that wire is just way too long. That'll hold itself over there. What else? This is the bridge lead. I'm going to show you just how easy this stuff will come out. I already took the knobs off. We got the green lead goes to the output jack from the three-way switch, and then the other lead from the three-way switch will be the ground, which looks like this guy right here. Again, just snipping them out. There's a hodgepodge of all kinds of different wires in here, and I don't like that. It's going to be nice and neat and clean when I get done. Just so we know. I'm going to pause briefly while I take out the output jack. I'd like to get as much of this into one video as possible, the wiring and everything, but I want to show you how to set the height for your pots. And then we're going to go and use a template out here on the bench, get everything out of the way, get everything wired up here that we can, and then mount everything in there pre-wired, and then all we have to do is attach a few grounds and we're done. The three-way switch and a couple of grounds, so stand by. So what we do As you can see, I got a little template going here. Got my caps, black wires, white wires. I tinned all of those. These are going to be our grounds from pot to pot. These are going to be our leads from volume to tone. And we are going to put them in right away. Now, always measure these first. I use a template because it's easier. So when I pick these up, I'm going to set them right in there. Then we have these other wires have to be done too, but they're going to be done in the guitar. I like to do these on a Les Paul style outside so that they're already attached together and we're not putting them in individually. They're going to kind of hold together when we put in there. And it's easier to do the caps and the pot to pot. The rest of these are just going to be wires that we have to touch to certain points. So the first thing we're going to do is the caps. When I say measure your thread length in the actual body and test fit your knobs. So you don't have to do that during this process. So I know when these go out and go in there, I'm ready to put a washer and a nut on the other side, snug them up, and get them positioned. Now, the only caveat is this isn't the exact length as it is in the actual pocket of the guitar, so you leave a little bit of extra wire to go from one to the other. Let's get to it. First thing we're doing is putting the caps in, and if I'm not mistaken, they go to the middle. Yeah, middle. So we're going to have a cap right here. Tone. At this juncture, it doesn't matter. They're getting the same thing. All we got to do is, I've already loaded all the lugs. Just got to heat it up, push it through. And that one's set. Same thing with the other one. I hope the camera's picking up a little bit on this. Once you get them set like that, then we're going to get ready to put them down. So they go to the center lug on the tone, and then you just ground them to the back of the pot. Pretty simple, pretty basic, and then we'll snip off the excess. Yeah, follow. I have been having solder iron issues in the shop lately. This is the third one I've been trying, and I'm not digging on it. It's a Weller, it's a good one, but just ain't digging it. I ain't feeling it like that. I have never had a problem tinning the tip of a solder iron before. You should be able to put a little bit of solder on the end of your iron, and it should stay on there until you're ready to place it. And no matter what I do to this to try to tin it, it just will not accept. It will not accept the solder. And trust me, I've been soldering for a good many years, and it's just, I think it's a cheap solder tip is what I've kind of boiled it down to. There's no reason for that thing not to tin. Yeah, it won't stick to it. And I believe it's probably because it wants flux on it, but I'm going to switch as soon as I get these caps put on. I'm going to switch solder irons again. There. Yeah, this solder iron sucks, and I'm not even kidding. And usually Weller is the name in solder irons. I got it on there, good clean joints, but not at all happy with the performance of that solder iron. That's why you use a template, because there's little driplets of solder trying to roll off because it won't tin to the solder tip. So stand by while I get another solder iron out here. All right, I'm back, and this is my old standby solder iron, and it is the cheapest little solder iron, and it has been the only one that works consistently. You can actually tin the tip, and the solder stays on there. Just make sure. Yes, I do follow destructions from time to time. This little solder iron is the one I use when I go on the road. If I'm going to go and do a job outside the shop, I'll take this. I have a little bag of tools that I take with me. And this one is always in there. And it works like a dream. It's not a super hot iron, but if you know what you're doing, you can get it to do what it's supposed to do. And all we're doing is putting connecting our ground wires from the back of the pots to each other. I'm going to show that part of it, and then we'll move on to the next phase. There you go. Always check your joint before you move on. Make sure that, yep, it's solid. Now all you got to do is use the solder on the tip of your iron to get a good joint on the back of the ground. Back to the pot, as it were. Yep. Yep. It's tedious work wiring, but it is a necessary evil, because not everybody can do it themselves. I mean, hopefully we all know how to change our own strings and stuff, but when it comes to changing pickups or pots or rewiring, as it is in this one, it's best to use someone who's got some experience in that field, if you follow my meaning. Now, there is also a lead that goes from volume pot to tone pot. I got black for ground, white to connect the two pots together. And that is, if I'm not mistaken, yup, right there. And this is why you load your lugs, because then all you have to do is heat it, push the wire through. And that's your joint. Same thing on the other side. The grounds on the back of the pots are always the hardest to do, to get them to adhere and to do them cleanly and to make sure it's a good joint. Sometimes you put a little dollop to start with, and that dollop will grow if you're not too careful. You gotta try to keep that to a minimum. Same thing on the, I believe this is the neck pot. We're just connecting it to the tone. And I always use black and white cloth covered wire, because once it's in the cavity, you can't burn the outside. I mean, you can if you really stay on it, but it's not like plastic coated wire where if you just touch it with the solder iron, that's it. You have a bare spot on that wire now. And plus these bend and they stay where you put them. Follow? That's why I use them. So that's how we're starting. I'm going to pause while I get this mounted in the guitar to where it's going to live, and then we're going to start tapping the rest of these in. So stand by. Okay, so off camera, of course, we put the rest of it together. I can't show you every little solder connection and tinning every little wire. We know this to be self-evident, but this is what it looks like when we're done. Come on, focus. Nice and clean, nice and neat. You'll notice that I did go back to the other caps. The orange caps were not matching, and I took them out and went back to these. These are fine. They'll work just fine. Let the player use it. If he wants, we can put different caps in there. It literally will take me 10 minutes. But I've used these caps before. They were actually the ones that were in the guitar. They're not bad caps. They'll work. But nice and neat, nice and clean. Everything is tucked around in the cavity where it belongs. Nothing's going to touch anything else. That's the way it's supposed to be. So, the moment of truth. Let's plug it in and see what it does. Saved that part at least. Had to rewire the output jack because somebody had a stereo output jack in it. I took that one out, put a new one in. Pretty simple stuff. So he wants his, normally, you know, it would be like this, up and down, but he wants his bridge over here. Oops, if you turn the amp on, Luch. Right, there's your tone, neck, there's your tone, and both. And then if you turn off your volume on either one, it will shut them both off. That's the way a Les Paul gets wired up. Pretty simple, but it can be a mystery if you haven't done it before. When you do a couple of thousand of them, you have your own way of doing it. I did not agree with the way that his guitar was wired when I first got it. It, first of all, was a spidered up mess, and we fixed that. I'm perfectly happy with the way this is. Nice and clean, nice and neat. Anybody that works on it in the future, other than me, will go in there and go, oh, okay, I see exactly what's going on here. When I first opened it up, it was not at all the way that I would have done it, and it wasn't working correctly. And not only that, the work was suspect. All of it. I hate to keep saying that, and I don't like to knock other technicians, but it is what it is. The next installment for this guitar is going to be cleaning it up and restringing it and doing a full setup. I don't know if I'm going to show that one. I might do it, but I'm not going to do it today. It's the end of the day, and I spent in a 20-minute video for this one, about 20 minutes. Off camera, it was about 2 hours worth of work. So I try to show as much as I can, but it just doesn't always go that way. Restring, but I'm going to polish up his frets, oil his board, make sure all his hardware, the usual stuff in a restring and setup. But the exercise was really about taking the debacle that was in there to begin with and making it something nice and new and reliable. The original complaint was that, the bridge pickup was working, then all of a sudden it wasn't. And yeah, it kind of showed itself. So we got it fixed. Another success. It's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for all your comments and your support. We'll talk soon. Remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe, and please share.